can't no more. I'm gonna take my horse through the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no
see
more.
you.
I got the horses in the
Oh, here comes freedom. Riding into the studio.
How you doing? How you doing?
Lovely to see you, Freedom.
You all right? Good, yeah?
So nice to see you.
Kate.
You all right?
I'm just filming your horse.
There goes Callie.
You wouldn't normally need a handler with a horse you're riding, would you?
Nah,
but because
that's
it's
strange.
the studio, it's important that Callie has someone with them. We're talking to Freedom because at one time in the past, he was a drug dealer who trained pit bulls to attack. But he now has a groundbreaking scheme to help turn around the lives of underprivileged children.
Yeah, Freedom's Ampalidus, as we just seen riding on Callie, who was a bay gelding standing over 15 hands high. Big horse, seemed to me. Viewers, you may recognise our four-legged friend. He's gone now, especially trained horses, does lots of TV, Into the Badlands, Beowulf, and has been helping us with Freedom's story. Do you tend to travel around on a horse regularly, just up and down, or is it strictly when you're at your equestrianism?
It's just when I'm promoting urban equestrian, really, you know what I mean? But back in the day, I used to ride on a regular basis. Every day, every other day, yeah.
You've got quite a history, but you turned your life around because you got involved with horses. You were born in a pretty rough part of Leicester.
Yeah.
Then you went over to Antigua.
The first thing is that the horses, they belong to my uncle, yeah?
Yeah.
So my uncle is a key character because he was the Scarface of the island. Okay?
What does that mean?
He was a big criminal.
So I wasn't involved in any type of crime or anything like that until I went to Antigua. You understand me? Yeah? So the racehorses was one of my uncle's toys, you could say, one of his assets. You understand me? So though that was a negative, the positive was the fact that he had horses, racehorses. And how I got involved is simply because my character, my personality when I was a kid, I absolutely loved animals. You know what I mean? I just loved animals. So because I had this opportunity to work with racehorses, I literally just took it.
I've been a nurse at Gosh for 2 years, but I trained there, so I've been there for 5 years in total. I started playing for kids when I was on one of the Cancer Awards as a student, and there was a boy who had a guitar in his bedroom, but he didn't have anyone to teach him to play, and I said, oh, I can play. So I went in and started teaching with him, started bringing in my own guitar, and then soon all the other parents would hear and say, can you just pop into my kids' rooms? Then I ended up just doing the rounds of playing for all the patients. So since qualifying, I don't have quite so much time, unfortunately, but when it's a slower day, I just pop into the patients and found a ukulele at the nurse's station by chance. And
Amazing,
like,
that.
yeah, give it a go. I think kids are just completely mesmerised and just having that person in the room with them. Kids love to sing, you know, singing nursery rhymes is great for their development, and we always encourage it, so...
Well, you've got the ukulele.
Yeah.
We could all do with a little bit of cheering up this morning. Is there any chance we could ask you to give us a little bit of It's All About You?
All
Just like you did for Artie, but for the whole nation now.
OK, for the whole nation.
For the whole nation.
No pressure. Yesterday you asked me something I thought you knew, so I told you with a smile, it's all about you. Then you whispered in my ear and you told me to, said you'd make my life worthwhile, it's all about you.
And I would answer all your wishes if you asked me to. But if you deny me one of your kisses, don't know what I do. Take it away.
So hold me close and say 3 words like you used to do.
Dancing on the kitchen tiles, it's all about you. You sing that a bit higher than we know. I got this is high.
Sorry.
Oh, Danny.
Oh my goodness.
This is. I brought a little present for Artie.
Thank you.
This is incredible.
Yeah. And you know, we've obviously seen and heard what you do, and Tom's gutted he can't be. I've just been talking to him, but he sends his love, and what you do is absolutely amazing. It's so special. This is what's amazing about music, isn't it? So amazing that you can do that, and you know, I wish Artie, you know, get well soon. And
Can I just stop everybody. Danny Jones has just walked on from the bar, and you just carried on singing like that.
Your
I was
voice
going
is
to harmonise at some point, and then you just kept getting... So, yeah.
Well, I
your
could have
heart
harmonised
rate?
if it was in a different key.
Sorry.
Take us back to that moment when you saw this man being thrown onto the track.
Yeah, to be precise, I didn't see him being pushed.
You saw him on the track,
Yeah,
didn't
I
you?
came straight to like literally a minute or two after he's been pushed. So the train
Seconds,
was
in fact.
Yeah, seconds.
You risked your own life, frankly, to save this man's life.
I laid on the electric rail, but thankfully it was not the. There is two kind of electric rail: a low tension and a high tension. I didn't touch the high tension,
Thank
thankfully.
goodness, yeah.
Well, currently I'm not working, but I usually work in hospitality.
Right.
But to be honest, I'm sick of it. So.
You're sick of hospitality.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, if anyone's watching and wants to give this guy a job, he's the kind of guy you want working for you. When you watch the footage back,
I was shocked myself.
what do you feel?
Yeah, well, nothing. I was proud. I was proud, very proud. My mother tried to kill me. She told me never to
What did
jump
she
on
say?
the train anymore. That was dangerous.
Don't do that
She was
again,
like,
Reid.
Don't ever jump on the train track.
Well, what's extraordinary,
But,
Riyadh, is not only did you save this man's life,
Oh yeah, that was the.
2 weeks later,
Yeah, that's quite.
this is absolutely extraordinary. You had to spring into action again. And two friends of yours said, "Hero, you're needed." Because, I mean, this is unbelievable. Two policemen get trapped in a van that overturns.
We saw about 20 meters away an overturned police van, and some people around, you know. And when I got there, so I ran, I got there, and I noticed leaking something.
Fuel, yeah.
Leaking something straight from the car. So in my head, I thought about, okay, they're gonna burn. So I ran straight. I climbed by the overturned van. I opened the door. It was heavy because of gravity, obviously. And yeah, I took off the first guy. He was hurt in the arm.
So when did you feel your passion and your concerns over climate change? When did they start to make you think, I have to do something about this? How did it begin for you?
The first time I heard about climate change was when I was maybe 8 or 9 years old. It was in school when my teachers told me about, oh, there's something called climate change and it's caused by humans. And they showed us films and pictures, and I just thought it was very worrying. I was very scared of it. And I thought that it was very strange that there was such an existential threat that would threaten our very existence and our civilization, and yet that wasn't our first priority, and we wasn't talking about it that much. And so I became interested in it, and I started reading about it, like books and movies and articles, and the more I read about it, the more I understood. And once you fully understand the meaning of the climate crisis, you can't un-understand it. Then you have to do something about it.
Frank, why do you think that what you said has called everyone's attention too much? I have my theory. I think it's because we rarely see judges being emotional in that way, and I think it's something that you're known for, isn't it?
Well, I think there's so much dissension in the world that people expect that everyone's going to be very strict law and order. I've said many times that I don't wear a badge under my robe. I wear a heart. And this is a classic case where to render a decision based on a strict interpretation of the law would be manifestly unjust. And so I did what is right, you know, and I think taking all of the attendant circumstances into consideration instead of the strict interpretation of the law is just a human thing to do. It's exercising some understanding and some compassion and some sympathy for people who appear before me.
I believe when you were talking to the elderly gentleman, you also brought in your son later on and mentioned how you'd like to take care of him. So, David, is he as good a dad as he is judge?
He drove us here tonight. So, yes, he's still driving me around.
So I'm guessing that's a yes.
Right?
You yourself...
No, but seriously, though, what he does on the bench is just like he is in his everyday life. Now that his courtroom is really a worldwide sensation, you know, he's approached all day, every day for people who just want to tell him the impact of what he does that has on them. And what has happened is some people completely spontaneously, without any request from us, started sending in checks to the court, asking that Judge Caprio use them in his discretion to help people that might need a little bit of financial help. And they come from all over the world. And most of them, people that send them, previously in their life had been through difficult times and had overcome them, and somebody had given them a helping hand. So the whole concept of pay it forward is living daily in the courtroom here in Providence, Rhode Island. Oftentimes, if you watch the cases online or in America here on television, you'll see him pull out a check that somebody has sent in to help assist somebody in paying their fine. So the message of unity really has spread around the world right from his courtroom.
You know, I first of all want to say I'm so sorry to hear about your diagnosis, because I know just what it means for a family to hear that news. I guess, you know, you must have had some symptoms, you got it checked out. How was it when you heard exactly what it was that you're suffering from?
Well, it was initially devastating, you know. As you said, it's a terminal diagnosis, and it takes a little while to kind of come to terms with that for you and your family. But the one thing that, well, the only thing that you've got really with the disease is how you choose to face it.
Yes.
And I think you can either let it take over your life and define you, or you can try and battle through and help to raise awareness and support, both for some of the organisations that help and are there for people with the disease, but also for organisations that have employees that might be subject to the disease as well.
Absolutely. And I mean, I love the fact that you're saying I'm going to carry on crime fighting, working, doing the job that you do, which I imagine is pretty full on at the best of times, let alone when you're having to deal with this as well. Yeah,
it's a tough job, of course, and I'm really grateful to West Midlands Police, because they've been incredibly supportive, actually, giving me an opportunity to keep going for as long as I can. And undoubtedly, you know, it's the thing that helps me the most, because it's the normality that cuts through life that is so important. And having that support at work has just been fabulous for both Sharon and I.
Yeah, you've talked a lot about that, haven't you? How employers could do a lot more, actually, to sort of adapt the working situation for people like yourself. What kind of things do you mean, and what kind of things have the police force been able to do for you?
Well, I think some of it's about attitude, actually. So is it okay to not be okay at work? And, you know, can you come to work and talk about things that are affecting you? You know, there's something like a 4% rate of people with disability within policing, and yet 20-odd% within our communities. And it worries me that people won't come forward and talk about conditions that they've got. So part of what I wanted to do was to try and say, you must come forward, and the organisation will help you and provide you the support that's necessary. You know, the Motor Neurone Disease Association, in my case, have been fabulous, as have the Primrose Hospice. You know, these organisations are there to help you to live as well as possible. Yeah. And that with your employer.
It's funny, I suppose, you know, if you're an employer, and people probably think the automatic assumption, if somebody gets something as serious as you, that they will never want to work again, they'll probably just want to stay at home. But actually, it's not the case, is it? You know, and employers need to encourage people. And you give the example of, let's say, for example, you know, if you're giving a presentation, or it's to just be a bit patient and allow a bit more time, maybe, in those circumstances.
So for me, the symptoms are I've got some weakness down the left side of my body, and you know, the breathlessness is probably the other thing. So I just ask people to be a little more tolerant, a little more patient. And I'm, you know, my boss would have accused me in the past of being a little verbose. Not quite so much now. But, you know, it just means being a bit more thoughtful for me.
A bit more considerate.
But others being more considerate.
Just remind people what thalidomide was and how it has affected you.
Well, thalidomide was a drug that was taken by mothers who were affected by morning sickness. And it was I say first, the thalidomide victim was born in 60 years ago.
Yeah.
In the UK. But you say, how has it affected me? It hasn't really affected me.
Well, and you're absolutely right, mentally and kind of from a psychology point of view, it hasn't. But of course, physically.
Well, physically, it has.
Talk us through how it affects
Well, physically, I've got no right leg, I've got 2 short arms, I've got no elbows, my hands are like this, you know, and I've got a curved spine. But that hasn't stopped me doing anything, you know, so you just kind of... well, you just carry on with life, basically.
Yeah. So you've got shortened arms and no elbows.
No elbows, no.
Yeah. So taking on a cycling challenge
yes.
Is, you know, the definition of a challenge, isn't it?
Well, it is, isn't it? Yes, it is. Well, the thing is, I got into hand cycling about 5 years ago, and I quite enjoyed it. Therefore, but I only go out once a week or something like that. So, but then I thought, let's just demonstrate to people that limitation should be no barrier. So fit and healthy is good, and it shouldn't deter you. And I think I've put in my video that, you know, you might not be able to do it a certain way, but you can do it your way. You know, and that's the most important thing.
Let's talk about this challenge, though, Andrew, because it's not a walk in the park, this.
No, it's not a walk in the park.
I mean,
no,
you know, because you're going to be doing 80, 90 miles a day.
I am, yes, yes.
For 13 days?
13 days, yes, and it's consecutive, isn't it? And there's no break. And that's the big challenge, really.
The most wear and tear, needless to say, would be on your hands?
No, the hands are actually fine because I hardly grip on the thing because it's like that. It's really the shoulders and the back. That's where all my strength is from, basically, because I'm rocking forward. I do sit-ups and everything like that. So it's the rocking movement because I've got no elbows to pull it back.
So you have
I'm just constantly rocking backwards and forwards like that, you see. So it's all in the shoulders and the back.
You were waiting, weren't you, for the opportunity to have this double hand transplant? And it was just a few days after you had appeared that it came good. Tell us briefly what happened and how it then escalated.
I waited 4.5 years. That was a really hard match for a donor. So I just got it into my head that it was never going to happen. And I just got on with life and I did things like Killy and I just got on with it. But just one day in January, just all of a sudden, the phone call came and an hour later you're in an ambulance going to Leeds.
Because the technicalities is any donor match is challenging, but this has to be the similar size, so the muscles and the tendons will work. For cosmetic and comfortable reasons, similar skin tone. There's so much to get right, isn't there?
Yeah. The problem for me, though, was that when I was ill with my sepsis 6 years ago, I'd had 25 blood transfusions.
Right.
And that gave me 25 sets of antibodies that they couldn't use or they couldn't have in the donor. So that's what made me a hard match.
You got the match, you've now got the hands, and the thing that you said you most wanted to do was to shake hands with people, particularly your lovely son, who we'll see in a moment. But can we shake hands?
Please do.
I'm slightly nervous because I don't...
I think that's quite a good grip too, Kate.
That's a really good... That is a firm
and do you,
handshake.
And this might sound a silly question, but do you get complete feeling in those hands? How much?
No,
no,
not yet. I know I'm doing it. There's hard sensations. In the shower, it's very sore because they're hypersensitive now. But with a feather, I don't feel
And may I say, just so we can see your hands, a wonderful manicure. Look at that. That is a manicure to be proud of. And things like that, while sounding trivial, must be just such a joy for you.